Wow, I sure do love the summer. The birds are out, the trees are green, and now it's fall. Oh my god, oh my word. The birds are still out, but instead, the trees are red, yellow, and green. And you know what else is in fall? Halloween. Woo! Halloween! Yay! Woo! Halloween! Halloween!
Wow, time flies when you're having fun, does it not, Zubek?
You're definitely right, Beepo. I mean, I've been waiting 5 months to celebrate Halloween, the worst holiday of all time, where a day for kids to eat candy is celebrated by adults en masse all around the world, where they dress up in horribly embarrassing and ridiculous costumes. Now, I think we have to do something special for today. I don't know, let's talk about creepy animals and give these freaks watching this something to shit their pants over. Do you have any ideas, Beepo?
I changed my vision apparatus into a button that instantly triggers a jump scare in the recording of the broadcast. We could use this to scare viewers throughout the video sadly.
I like your thinking. Now come over here, just sit
Lost
still
the
for a
goods,
moment.
man.
Alright, Beepo, how does your head work? Where do I activate the jump scares?
Press the vision apparatus.
The what?
Press the vision apparatus.
The what?
Press the vision apparatus.
The what?
Press the thing that looks like my eyeball, you donkey.
Oh, right, excuse me. Here we go. Oh. It's kind of fun.
After hours of doing this,
Okay, I had my fun. Now get back in your body, you little scamp. And you know what to do, Beepo. Activate presentation mode. Hello there, folks, and welcome to another edition of Nickturalist. In today's video, I'll be exploring creepy crawlies and other spooky animals as it's the Halloween season. I think it would be fun to dissect humanity's fear of certain animals and why they feature so prominently in this ever-so-sacred holiday's iconography and other horror-related things. So, what's a creepy crawly? Well, for creepy crawlies, according to Merriam-Webster, they're organisms such as a spider, beetle, cockroach that typically crawl along close to... Oh, that's my phone going off. No, I don't want to go to a lunch thing. No, I'm not doing that. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, according to Merriam-Webster, they're organisms such as a spider, beetle, or cockroach that typically crawl along close to or on the ground and are often considered unwanted or unpleasant. Well, that's not very nice. I happen to enjoy the spiders that have become freeloaders in my spaceship. They make great snacks. Yum! And as for the other category, spooky animals, I'd probably define those as an animal other than an insect or spider that, if a human saw it and yelped like a dog while leaping in the air or ran away screaming while flailing their arms around in the air, then I'd say that's a spooky animal. So, with that being said, spiders are one of the most popular creepy crawlies, if not the creepy crawly. You can probably fill your room up to the top with water bottles over the course of a year, with each water bottle representing the number of times you've witnessed someone freak out over seeing one of these 8-legged web spinners. Arachnophobia is the most widespread animal fear on Earth, with various estimates from different sources ranging from 3% to 15% of the human population being afflicted with this condition. Looking at modern media, this widespread fear is reflected by featuring spiders in threatening or horrific contexts, as seen in movies like Arachnophobia, where a California town is invaded by droves of killer spiders, or in video games like Bloodborne, where giant spiders can be found throughout Yharnam's nightmarish landscapes, with one mandatory boss, Rom the vacuous spider, blocking the player from progressing through the game. Obviously, there are more examples, but with that being said, how did humanity get here? Well, for one, spiders in general are very alien to humans in their anatomy and behaviors. Their multiple legs and eyes, erratic movement, and ability to surprise unknowing individuals by descending down a web or crawling on them can craft a feeling of unease, even leading to potential traumatizing events. These negative feelings towards spiders can be passed down culturally, with young children witnessing the adverse reactions of their parents or other family members towards spiders. These reactions will then likely instill these fears on the child, ultimately leading to a lifelong fear of our 8-legged fuzzy friends. But what if there's a primal aspect to it? Did human ancestors develop a natural avoidance of spiders to ensure the likelihood of survival? Well, the jury's out. The evolutionary explanation doesn't have much substance to it, or at least doesn't have much finality to it. Africa, the continent where humans originated, yes, does have venomous spiders that can be fatal to humans, like recluse and widow spiders, but not many in comparison to the continents of South America and Australia, which were the two most recent continents to be colonized by humans. Human ancestors were faced with much more deadly and prominent threats like lions or snakes, so developing an innate evolutionary fear over something like a venomous spider, which would have likely been encountered much less, doesn't hold much water, at least in my eyes. However, a relative of spiders, scorpions, do pose a much more dangerous threat to humans, with over 2,000 people being killed by them each year. Many of these scorpions of which do hail from Africa. So it's possible that instead of developing an innate deterrence of just scorpions, but anything with an arachnid body type, sporting 8 legs, chelicerae and all, would have been a safer way to just avoid getting bit or stung in general. The answer is still out there, but it seems like there might be a mix of both explanations acting here. And somewhere along the line, the fear of spiders just spread more and more as human populations grew and expanded across the globe, with the original fear of scorpions getting mushed together with spiders at a rapid rate, ultimately leading to little trick-or-treaters walking up to a house on a cold, or at least one time was cold thanks climate change, October 31st night, expecting a heaping hand of those disgusting different colored Tootsie Rolls, only to be jump scared by a robot spider flying down from the ceiling. And speaking of flying down from ceilings, what's the deal with bats? Well, yet again, bats are another prominent icon of Halloween and horror media. These associations likely originate from traditional Western beliefs of bats as harbingers of death, with the Christian faith associating them with evil spirits and the devil. Dracula, one of, if not the most popular horror character in history, could transform into a variety of creatures, like a wolf, or a rat, but most notably could become, you guessed it, a bat. These days, the link between bats and vampires seem inseparable, but this wasn't always the case. Prior to the discovery of the New World by Europeans, vampires had existed as an aspect of old world folklore for centuries, with tales of ghoulish creatures stalking the land, terrorizing people and their livestock, by preying on their bodily essence, sometimes in the form of sucking their blood. Well, by the time the 14 and 1500s came around, European explorers had discovered bat species unlike anything they knew of back home. In Central and South America, there existed species of bats that specifically preyed upon the blood of other animals. The news of these bats eventually reached the Old World, and over time, they were known to Western science as vampire bats. Their consumption of blood, otherwise known as hematophagy, would act as a bridge between them and the vampires of legend, eventually acting as Bram Stoker's inspiration for Dracula's transformation into them. Now, in reality, vampire bats are very different from vampires. Well, for one, they're real, and they're not vampires, but also the way they feed is not what you think. Despite what you may believe, vampire bats don't suck blood. They, as Dracula in the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy says,
scrape and lick.
Instead of digging their fangs into unsuspecting hosts and slurping up the blood like it's a Frosty at Wendy's,
Walkie slush.
Vampire bats will bite into an area of their hosts where blood flow is heavy, like an artery, and then lick up the ensuing leakage from the skin. For them to even get to this point, however, vampire bats have developed adaptations tailored for movement on the ground, with powerful hind limbs and thumbs.
Which, yeah, those little fingers you see sticking out of a bat's wings are its thumbs. Now, if you were a bat and you had your hands spread out like this, you would have a whole bunch of skin connecting your pointer finger all the way down to your pinky. This is what composes their wing and helps them fly. So yeah, basically bats fly like this. And then when they crawl around, they put their wings in like this, and then they grab onto things with their thumbs like that. It's really cool.
But yes, with their powerful hind limbs and thumbs, they can run and hop along the ground. Oh my god, they got one on a treadmill. Once an unsuspecting host is found, like a cow, vampire bats will delicately climb up their bodies like it's Shadow of the Colossus, until they find a nice bloody spot. and begin the lapping. Then once they're done with the lapping, they can jump with their powerful legs and fly away, which is yet again unlike any other bat, because most other bat species on their own cannot generate enough lift from the ground. So they need to hang upside down in order to begin flying, hence why a lot of bats sleep upside down. So once they're ready to go, they can just drop down from where they are and begin flying. Oh my god, bats are so cool. There's a ton of different species out there, with 20% of all mammals being bats. Outside of the typical insect-eating species that you typically expect are bloodsuckers, there's bats that feed on nectar, like the orange nectar bat of Central and South America, bats that hunt migrating birds as seen with the greater noctule bat of Europe, or bats that eat fish, like, well, the fish-eating bat that resides in the Gulf of California. Their biological diversity is matched with the diversity of how different cultures perceive them. Earlier I mentioned the traditional European views of bats being associated with Mr. Satan himself, but in other parts of the world, bats are seen as symbols of witchcraft, as seen with various indigenous groups within African countries like Nigeria or Sudan. In East Asia, the script is flipped completely, with bats being seen as a symbol of good fortune in China. And in Indonesia, the sight of roosting fruit bats near rice fields apparently solidifies a good rice harvest. Geez, that seems like a lot of beliefs, says the ambiguous person watching this. But there's a reason why I didn't save bats for last, because there's another spooky animal that takes the cake for imprinting itself on the history of mankind, unlike anything else that I've seen. It starts with S. No, it's not Sarah Jessica Parker. No, you big dummy, it's snakes. And oh boy, snakes get it rough. Mr. Satan himself was a snake. He told Eve to eat that dang old apple, and now look where you guys are. Fucking Funko Pops and Fanta-flavored Pop-Tarts. But yeah, snakes are not fondly looked upon in the modern world. Anaconda, with world-famous War of the Worlds actor Ice Cube. Snake bad. Indiana Jones poop his pants over snake in plane. Snake bad. Snakes on a plane. Snake bad. Elden Ring, Rykard being god-devouring snake. Snake bad. Slytherin, Harry Potter, snake bad. Harry Potter snake kill this guy against wall. Snake bad. Snake in Jungle Book, snake bad. Skeleton snake on porch during Halloween, snake bad. I mean, what's going on here? Why snake bad and scary? Well, similar to the explanation with spiders, the general negativity towards snakes might be a primal thing for humans. Snakes were one of the only animals that might have posed a threat to older generations of humans and their ancestors. There's plenty of venomous snakes out there that can kill you guys in a matter of moments. The saw-scaled viper is regarded as the snake species with the single highest human kill count in the world, outnumbering all other species combined. Residing above the equator in dry, arid environments across Africa, the Middle East, and India, this viper spends its days hiding away until nightfall, where they prowl the lands with their sidewinding movements in search of prey. If threatened, these snakes will produce a hissing sound from the serrated scales that run along their body. This method of producing sound is known as stridulation, where animals rub their body parts together in order to produce a sound. You know this noise? That's stridulation. Back to the viper. This snake has a bad temper and is easily irritated, like my mother-in-law. So if you don't listen to these hisses and turn back, a nasty bite is coming your way. The venom of these snakes destroys bodily tissue, inducing necrosis of the flesh, and can rupture blood vessels, leading to effects like blood clotting and internal bleeding. Yay! Yay! Really fun. Just kidding, no, this is not a fun thing to happen to you. Like, really not fun. If you happen to survive via treatments with antivenom, you may still require an amputation due to the destruction of body tissue. The high-density human populations in this snake's home range and the difficulty in spotting them due to their camouflage leads to a high quantity of bites and, unfortunately, an estimated 5,000 deaths a year. This isn't the only species that causes a high quantity of human deaths, and snakes with their tendencies to be sneaky and ambush prey, striking those fiercely who come near them, are what most likely linked the ideas of evil and deception to snakes in the eyes of many humans. Now, the information I've presented in this video is a small sliver of the full picture on how these animals relate to humans and their societies. For all the negative ways they're perceived, and like I mentioned a little with the bats, these animals, for all the heebie-jeebies they give people, can also be viewed as forces of positivity. Snakes, for example, have been viewed as symbols of health and rebirth, with their abilities to shed their skin, stripping them of their previous body, so to speak, renewing their vitality. Many of you have most likely seen this idea reflected within your everyday lives, with the rod of Asclepius, a staff with a snake intertwined around it, being featured in the symbols of many medical organizations. This symbol is a reference to, well, Asclepius, the ancient Greek god of medicine. And for spiders, well, Spider-Man. Duh! Are you gonna say Spider-Man is a bad guy? Spider-Man saves people, dude. Why would a spider be bad if it can give Tobey Maguire powers and let him deliver pizzas and... Oh. Well, ignore that. And that just about does it for this scary edition of Nickturalist. Ooh, scary. Okay, I'm leaving now. Bye.